Wind and solar are based on public fear of global warming, and the mainstream media has pretty much given up its role as an independent reporter on these things and has become an advocate.
If you add up
political landscape,
warming isn't, in fact, accelerating. In fact, there's been none for 15 years.
There's Christopher Monckton, a big draw at these meetings, who brings the skeptics to their feet every time.
We heard from many folks that we should tone it down on global warming. We should not talk about the issue because the court of public opinion had already decided, and we were on the losing end. But we believe that if we present the case to the American people and it resonates, if they get it, then that's going to work its way up the political stepladder.
You've really changed the game on global warming.
Oh, I certainly hope so.
These political messengers rely on a small group of outspoken scientific contrarians, like climatologist Pat Michaels of the libertarian Cato Institute.
Every paragraph can be contended.
Willie Soon is an astrophysicist who studies the sun and stars.
You just found a mechanism to transport anything from the tropics to the Arctic.
They cannot fit northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere.
And Fred Singer, the veteran scientist at these proceedings, he's a retired physicist once responsible for government weather satellites, who tells people the climate needs no help from worried humans.
Adjustable parameters. Climate, to me, has become a non-issue. It's a phantom issue. There's nothing wrong with climate. It will change no matter what we do. It'll get colder, it'll get warmer. We just have to wait a little.
Singer says he's dedicated to explaining his theories about global warming.
What keeps you going? What's your motivation?
Basically, I like to see good science being done and protected. I think I'm fighting here for scientific truth. That's important to me.
Do you think the science is being hyped on global warming?
Oh, very definitely, yes.
Armed with that conviction, this team of skilled political messengers and contrarians has certainly changed the game. In just 4 years, the number of Americans who agree global warming is man-made has dropped to about half.
We should get these books, I think.
It's a message that is inspiring a new generation of skeptics.
I would like to really listen to these scientists who came and talk and have dedicated their lives to debunking this fallacy, so to speak.
Once upon a time, what these people call a fallacy had another name: the truth.
You've heard of off the charts. Within less than 50 years, it'll be here. The so-called skeptics...
In 2006, the film An Inconvenient Truth told a disturbing story and galvanized public awareness about the climate.
And now to a new report on global warming.
The UN scientists and former Vice President Al Gore would share the Nobel Peace Prize. The cause had a consensus and a credible leader. The skeptics would take on both.
I think Al Gore was probably the best thing that could happen to global warming skeptics.
From my perspective, Al Gore was the perfect proponent and leader of the global warming alarmists because he's very politically divisive and controversial.
I think it was his tone and manner.
Blah, blah, blah. You gotta believe me. That part of the trial sucked.
Myron Abel was acting on a broad strategy he helped create more than a decade ago. In this 1998 action plan, victory will be achieved, it said, when the public recognizes uncertainties in climate science.
We believed that the consensus was phony. We believed that the so-called global warming consensus was not based on science, but was a political consensus, which included a number of scientists.
In 2009, agreement on global warming seemed part of the solid wave of enthusiasm that elected Barack Obama. Congressional hearings on cap and trade would become a stage where opposing views would get equal time.
Professor Schrag, you just heard what Dr. Michaels said.
Pro-cap and trade lawmakers would call leading climate scientists and policymakers to make the argument for action now.
It's very clear from that estimate that in fact we're in for bigger trouble.
One of the things that we've already seen is many observed changes in the climate.
Global climate change is a serious threat to our national security.
The skeptics had their own witnesses. They testified that nothing was settled and that global warming might actually be good for the planet.
It's necessary.
Say that again. Carbon dioxide is what?
It's plant food.
It's plant food.
Yeah.
The testimony of the skeptics argued for a timeout. There was enough uncertainty, they said, to justify delay.
The right response to the non-problem of global warming, first slide please, is to have the courage to do nothing.
But the fear of catastrophic man-made global warming is mistaken.
This demonstration shows that the oft-repeated mantra in Washington, quote, "the science is settled," is not true at all.
Skeptics had found a seat at the table.